As a professor at Duke University, Miguel Nicolelis built a strong reputation as a neuroscientist. Backed by his success in science, by the beginning of the millennium Nicolelis decided to dramatically expand his activities. The idea would be to use science as an agent for social and economic transformation of poor neighborhoods in Brazil, his country of origin. The big dream, championed by Nicolelis, soon captured the attention of the Brazilian media. His ambitious goals, both scientific and social, were met with great enthusiasm by both the scientific and lay communities in Brazil and abroad. He is now often referred to as a national hero. Such huge endeavors, of course, demand huge resources. The support for these initiatives have come from governmental sources, but also from private donors, something Nicolelis singled out as a major advantage of his institute. But as private donations are often accompanied by fiscal benefits, indirectly those may also involve public money. During the decade after the projects were launched, the media coverage focused mostly on his persona, ideas, and projects. Much less attention was paid to what was actually accomplished, and to the costs associated with the initiative. The lack of visibility of the outcomes has led some people to question whether the enthusiasm with which the proposals were received was really warranted. Episodes such as the one in which Nicolelis decided not to respond to questions that were sent to him by a journalist didn't help improving the situation. This general feeling was aggravated after the performance of his exoskeleton on the FIFA World Cup. Although Miguel Nicolelis declared that all the goals for the project were met, many people expressed feelings that, on their view, the Walk Again team had failed to deliver on the promises made. In this video, we enlisted some promises made by Nicolelis over the years, and what was published about these projects afterwards. Note that we do not claim that these promises went unfulfilled, but that we failed to find detailed information on their outcomes. BHSL Lab and the Brazilian cyborg. By June 2005, Miguel Nicolelis gave an interview to the newspaper Folha de São Paulo. He was talking about his recently founded laboratory at the Sírio-Libanês Hospital, HSL, in São Paulo, Brazil. He declared that it would take him and his team some 3 years to create the first cyborg in the world. The candidates for the program would be amputees, or people paralyzed by medullary damage. Those patients would regain function through invasive brain-controlled robotic prostheses by the end of 2011, or 6 years later. And after a lot of resources were consumed, the laboratory at the HSL ceased to exist, and no cyborg came out from that collaboration. Walk Again? Later on, Nicolelis presented a similar initiative, now branded Walk Again Project. This time, the goal of the international consortium was to improve the lives of paralyzed people by letting them walk again using brain-controlled robotic devices. Nicolelis made it to the headlines again by saying that if his initiative would get the authorizations and resources needed, he would showcase his technology by making a tetraplegic youngster get up from his wheelchair, walk and kick the ball to give start to the FIFA World Cup to be held in Brazil. Nicolelis presented his initiative as a way to show a new Brazil, capable of impressing the whole world. For that demonstration he is said to have been awarded $13 million from the Brazilian government alone. Private donors also contributed, but the exact sums remain undisclosed. The demonstration at the World Cup opening was a few seconds long and raised many questions. Nicolelis insisted that he had been boycotted by the TV broadcasting crew, but FIFA denied it by saying that the few seconds shown were all there was to the demonstration. A few lab videos published by Nicolelis show a heavy, non-autonomous exoskeleton that fails to keep balance, needing the help of people and hangers to walk and stand still. Nicolelis insists that all goals were achieved, but if that is the case, the group should prepare a complete demonstration. There is still a lot of interest from the public and the media. This way no one would be kept wondering about the capabilities of the exoskeleton, or about its usefulness for the movement impaired. To know more about this project, watch the video entitled Walk Again Project Extended. The supercomputer. By 2010, newspapers all over Brazil covered a meeting celebrating an initiative for scientific collaboration between Brazil and Switzerland. The donation of a supercomputer to the Brazilian Education Ministry was one of the highlights of the collaboration. By that time, the machine, capable of performing 24 trillion floating-point operations per second, would still rank as the fastest in Latin America. Custom-built by IBM for the EPFL, it cost about $10 million. Nicolelis accepted the Blue Gene supercomputer by saying it would be used to analyze brain signals at the Edmund and Lily Safra International Institute of Neuroscience. After its arrival at the institute, nothing more was heard about the supercomputer. By now it would be at least 10 times slower than the fastest computer in Brazil, but would still be listed among the fastest in Latin America. The fact that it doesn't show up on the list makes one wonder if it is in use at all. The return. When in 2003, Nicolelis started talking about the institute he wanted to create in Brazil, he repeatedly stressed the importance of bringing back to Brazil the researchers that had to leave the country in order to have the appropriate conditions to develop their scientific work. He also made clear that his goal was to show that it was possible to make world-class science in Brazil. It is interesting to notice that, contrary to his discourse, he never relocated to Brazil, keeping his scientific headquarters at Duke University in the U.S. Having raised many tens of millions of dollars from Brazilian sources, it would be expected that he would put all his energy into the project. Keeping his working laboratory during a transition period would be reasonable. But more than 10 years later, nothing was heard about his plans of fully relocating to the country, training Brazilian scientists. Although Miguel Nicolelis puts a strong focus on empowering Brazilian science through the training of the new generations, as of July 2014, according to his website, there seems to be no Brazilians working or studying within his group at the Duke University, with an exception made for Laura Oliveira, his longtime collaborator and wife. And the complete list of past members of his lab, surprisingly, also shows very few researchers of Brazilian origin. His curriculum at the Brazilian Lattes platform also makes no mention to any theses, ongoing or finished, under his guidance in Brazil. The CV has been updated for the last time in 2013, and the website could also be outdated. So it is difficult to establish how many Brazilians are actually being trained directly by Nicolelis. Forming a team of scientists. 1. One of the main goals of the institute was the creation of a strong team of scientists that would follow their own research agendas and help training a new generation of Brazilian scientists. This effort culminated on the creation of a neuroscience department at the Federal University of Rio Grande do Norte. The salaries of professors and technicians, scholarships for the students, and some of the operational costs of the institute were paid by the federal government, thus probably adding a few $1,000,000 to the public contributions. By mid-2011, most of the professors, students, and technicians, a group of more than 90 people, left the Edmund and Lily Safra Institute. They created an independent brain institute, connected only to the Federal University. The professors cited difficulties created by Nicolelis as the main motivation for the departure. Nicolelis, on his side, said the split was planned and motivated by diverging research interests. In any case, as a result of the departure, the Edmund and Lily Safra Institute ended up with empty labs, with an almost complete disruption of the ongoing work. The professors and students relocated to improvised facilities, also facing massive delays on their ongoing research, including many theses projects. Forming a team of scientists. 2. After the breakup, Nicolelis announced that all the activities at the institute would remain unaffected. Later on he presented a new group of scientists that would substitute the previous one. Included in the list were scientists from his laboratory at Duke University, and some well-known senior scientists. By the end of 2012, or 18 months after the breakup, the newspaper O Estado de São Paulo published an article questioning whether the research at the institute had really recovered its normality. Apparently most of the people on the list of substitutes never relocated to Brazil, and from the few that came to the institute, some left after a short period. At that time only 6 scientists with no connection to the university, and 3 postgraduate students worked at the 2 fully equipped research facilities, formerly occupied by more than 90 people. After the publication of the news article, a list of papers was presented as a proof of the unaffected productivity, but the papers mainly reflected work by the scientists that left, or by the Duke University team, forming a team of scientists. 3. As of July 2014, or 3 years after the separation, according to their website, the list of institute members still seems much smaller than the original team. In a departure from the initial goal of having independent groups, most of the participants seem to be young scientists working directly with Nicolelis. As most of the researchers' CVs have not been updated lately, it is difficult to establish whether they are working in Natal, Macaíba, São Paulo, or the U.S. For how long have they been working there, and how independent they really are. Brain Campus. By 2003, when Nicolelis started to publicly talk about his institute, he declared that he wanted to build not only a small center capable of competing with the best labs on the world, but a mega campus of the brain, where many scientists would develop their research on fully equipped laboratories, while at the same time, free, high-quality medical services and education were to be provided for the local community. All these initiatives would be hosted by the mega buildings of the campus. Many millions of dollars were spent on construction. Over a 100-hectare campus provided by the government. After more than 1 decade, the big buildings are still unfinished. A small school and a small prenatal clinic are now at work for the poor neighborhood of Macaíba. Also a small research facility is available at Macaíba. The services and facilities that are now at work seem to be insufficient for achieving what was promised for the Brain Campus. Those goals will probably only be achievable after the campus is fully functional. Until then, the results of these small working units are the only evidence we could find of actual return of the immense investments made so far in Macaíba. By March 2014, the newspaper, Tribuna do Norte, revealed that construction had stopped at Macaíba. The research center was only 70% ready and its conclusion was expected for mid-2015. The school was 80% ready and could be finished by the end of 2014, though without the auditorium or the theater originally planned. It was also revealed that the funding of about $20 million had already ran out, and would have to be supplemented. Conclusion. Given the ease with which we were able to find news articles on the many promises made, we would like to encourage Miguel Nicolelis and his team to put more effort into publishing detailed reports on the operation of his institute. We would also like to encourage journalists to try to contact his group, in order to help making these matters more transparent to the public. Building effective communication channels is essential to make it possible for the public and the scientific community to follow more closely work that has the potential to contribute to our future, or to generate immense frustration.
Porque o sonho que não se realiza, o sonho que não se converte em realidade, ele inibe não só a você a ter outros sonhos impossíveis, pela a perda da energia, a perda da confiança em si mesmo, mas ela inibe, mais complexo do que isso, muito mais danoso do que a inibição desse indivíduo que perde a autoconfiança, é a inibição coletiva do seu entorno quando um sonhador delirante é derrotado.